some killer stuff happening. We've been talking about it a lot, but the competition on display in Pro Nitrous, PDRA Pro Nitrous, PDRA Pro Boost, PDRA Extreme Pro Stock, PDRA Pro Outlaw 632, it's almost unspeakable. It was one of the finest performances, that opening round of eliminations at the World Finals at Virginia Motorsports Park. I really think was one of the best performances, best rounds of racing that I've ever seen. And I'm excited to have this guy join us. I believe that he is the most dominant force in door slammer drag racing. I've been calling him all day long, just getting ready. The champ, triple champ, trip champ, whatever you want to call it. He's done it 3 times in a row.
I thought you were saying
Ladies
chomp,
and gentlemen,
chomp, chomp.
No,
like
no.
Shark.
Champ.
Oh, okay.
Well, you could maybe do like chomp, chomp. No, champ. The one and only, ladies and gentlemen, give it up.
That, Jim. So
Jim Halsey, bring him on. What's up, Jimmy?
Guys, how are you?
Man?
Man, thank you so much for taking some time. I'm sorry we had you in the green room forever there, but I appreciate you hanging out with us and being patient. It's these live format deals. You never know. Something kind of goes off the rails. You try to bring it back. You never know how it's going to end up, but I appreciate your patience. And I guess let's get right down to it. Congratulations, man. I don't know how many more accolades we can pile on you and Brandon and Kathy and Eric and the crew, but holy crap, man, you guys did it again. There was a time, Jim, that I didn't think we'd ever see. I didn't know if we'd see Jim Halsey drag racing again. But, man, you're back and in rare form, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. There was a time that we weren't sure we were going to be back either. So, with this new car, it turned our program around pretty quickly and getting hooked up with Brandon and a lot of testing, and it's all paid off.
Tell me, how much do you think that attention to detail, when I look at what you and Brandon Schweitzer, of course, who you're talking about, and Eric Davis, what I see in your guys' pit area is some harmony. You guys, everybody knows their role. Everybody knows their task. It's the same cast of characters every time I come around. That's something that I talk about all the time, is that consistency, the same group. Everybody kind of knows their place and their responsibility. How critical to the success of your program, Jim, do you think that group of people is, and that continuity that exists amongst your team?
Well, I think it's very important because we don't have to ask each other questions. We each know that we're going to do our jobs and we're going to do them correctly. It's like a well-oiled machine. It runs all but perfect.
Yeah, it sounds cliche, but you can see it from a mile away. I was going to say that exact line. It's like a well-oiled machine, and it's cool because no one's stepping on each other's toes. And I experienced it a lot. Drag racing is a backbreaking deal. And I remember my dad, when we were growing up, we'd have people come like, "Hey, I want to go racing with you sometime." And you're like, "Oh, okay." It's not always as much fun as it might look like, and we'd have someone come along with us. And by the time we'd put the awning up and got the car unloaded and on Pro Jacks and it's 6,000 degrees out, they've decided they're never going drag racing again. So when you get a group of people that's that dedicated, I mean, what can you say about Brandon, Eric, Kathy being as dedicated as they are?
It's overwhelming to me to see what they do and the enthusiasm they have toward it, the effort they put toward everything. To be honest with you, if I couldn't do it with them, I don't think I would do it any longer.
I believe it, and I can see it on your face, man. You guys roll deep. It's a small group, but it's like hardcore and passionate, man. And you guys have really set the bar for everybody in Pro Nitrous right now. Whenever you look at the scene, things intensified there late in the season. It looked like you were running away from it. I was like literally scraping the bottom of the barrel on the Caruso show to try to pick somebody that wasn't you, just to try to make things interesting. But you were cleaning house from start to finish. But here late in the season, we saw some guys kind of come along. Jay Cox kind of reintroduced himself to the mix. Tommy Franklin went out with a bang, won the race, kind of got back into his usual form. Can you just kind of take us through 2021 for you, like looking at the Pro Nitrous landscape?
It started out really good for us. We won a lot, and we went to Bowling Green, and we underestimated our opponent, lost on the whole shot. We both ran identical ETs. That stung a little bit, so I think that woke us up for a few races. And then when we got to Maple Grove, we lost first round, and that was a big heartbreaker close to home in front of a bunch of family and friends. After that, we kind of got our act together, except for my red light in Galat. So Finished off.
Well, hey, man. I mean, honestly, I was so surprised to see that red light, but it actually made me feel good in a way. I mean, it was horrible for you, but it just showed that you're not taking any of these guys lightly. I think there was a point in the season and kind of just the last few years that you were like, seemed like a foregone conclusion that you were going to be there in the final or at least deep elimination rounds. And it was kind of nice to go like, you know what? Even our reigning champion, the baddest guy out here, is still pushing it. You know what I mean? And what does that say for the guys you're racing, Jim? I mean, obviously we can pour the compliments on you and the accolades, but you've been pressed by this group of people to get to where you are, right?
Oh, no doubt about that. I mean, if you don't keep pressing on, I mean, they'll catch you, pass you, and you'll be the guy chasing them.
What do you look forward to in 2022? I mean, where do you see the program going? We saw all these cars dipping well down into the 360s. You clipped off a 359 earlier this season. I mean, do you feel like there's going to be a continued escalation of the performance of these cars, or do you think they've kind of got them in a sweet spot right now?
I think they're in a sweet spot. I think you'll see a little progression. I don't think you'll see a 10th or anything like that in the next few years, but it wouldn't surprise me to see a 57, 58 if we get the racetrack and the conditions.
What is your plans for the rest of the season, Jim? I mean, are you going to hit up some of these late season big money outlaw races?
Our plan is to go to Bradenton for the Snowbirds in December, and then we'll hit the U.S. Street Nationals in January again.
And then head right back into defending your crown and going for the fourth world championship. Tell me a little bit about having all this success with your dear friend Gene Fulton at the awards banquet last year, or I guess actually earlier this year. They had it in the spring because PRI was canceled, but it was seeing Gene at your table and knowing how close you guys have been for as long as, I mean, I remember the days when everybody aspired to have a Fulton decal on their hood scoop. You know, I mean, like that was a status symbol in our industry. I remember we would actually get in trouble with it because we published so many photos that had Fulton on the hood scoop, and it would be like, hey, this is not my doing. We're not choosing to do this. They just win. Everybody's got that. Those are the guys. I mean, that's who was winning. And it's an incredible thing. What's it been like for you to be flying Gene Fulton's, Fulton Competition's flag for all these years and then still today having all the success?
Well, the story of us doing well at the beginning of our deal in early 2000s and up to about 2008 or 2009 with Gene stuff, and then we kind of fell off the path a little bit after our fire and stuff like that, and to come back and for lack of a better term, dominate with his stuff. I'm pretty proud that I can do that.
Oh, I think it's fantastic, man. I mean, it's that's one of the things that we don't see. I mean, like the drama in NHRA Pro Stock is that like almost every car has a Chevy engine in it, right? Even the Mustangs have Chevy engines in them at different times. The Dodges have Chevy engines in them. Everybody pretty much has the same stuff. And one of the funnest parts, in my opinion, and I want to bring Mike in here for this as well. How much do you think, Mike, that it adds to like the overall energy and enthusiasm around Pro Nitrous to have, Charlie Buck, Pat Musey, Gene Fulton, Billy Albert, right? I mean, because there's like quite the cast of characters just building engines.
Yeah, absolutely. It's for a while there wasn't all of that competition, but it's really gotten to the level where any of these engine builders could go out and win. And to see the variety, to me, that is kind of like the variety of the power adders that you see in the other classes. You've got the variety of engine builders in Pro Nitrous. So it's all cool. But I mean, to shout out to Gene Fulton, it really started with him in the early days. So where we are now, I don't think we'd be where we are if it wasn't for an innovator like Gene Fulton, who's just a guy, an outside the box thinker. If you've ever met Gene, his wheels are always turning and you never know what that guy's going to come up with next.
Jim, do you think that that's what has kept allowed him to do this all these years? Is that outside the box thinking, trying stuff that other people aren't trying?
And he still does it today. I mean,
really?
I'm sure he's a lot closer to retirement than he was a few years ago. But I mean, we talk not a whole lot, but when we do, he's got ideas of trying stuff and trying to make things better and more durable.
Give us some technical juice. Like, what's something crazy that you guys have tried? I mean, give us an example. I'm just curious. Like, give us a fun example of something that you guys have tried.
Years ago, we tried the cold push system. It was pretty fast, but it was very hard on parts. I mean, we tore some stuff up. That was probably back in 2006, 2007. We ran fast, but I mean, we spent a ton of money trying to make it work and ended up ditching it because it didn't work. But
Yeah, we need a list, Jim, of all those things that you tried and what was real and what we only heard that was just a rumor, because it was always something coming out of that camp. But now you've got Fulton, and then you've got Brandon Schweitzer too. So you've got really two outside the box thinkers, one that's maybe more old school, and then one that's like a scientist like Brandon Schweitzer. So what's it like having that combination together?
Well, you take the best of both worlds there. I mean, Gene builds high horsepower stuff that's durable, and Brandon pushes it to the limits. And I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. It's like a dream team.
It really is, because I wonder sometimes, like, if you think about what used to be associated with making some of the runs that you guys make, like, heads off, things destroyed, putting a rack in it, I mean, that was like, you heard that. Like, anytime you were at an IHRA national event, or, the early NHRA Pro Mod stuff, or even ADRL Pro Nitrous, like, some of those runs, like, you go by the pits and it's a thrash. What do you make of the reliability of these engines in this day and age, Jim? I mean, are you surprised by the way you're able to run without tearing them up all the time?
Well, at times we are. I mean, sometimes we
Tear them up.
spend a lot of time tearing them up and fixing them and stuff like that. Back in January in the Bradenton race, we had the engine apart, I think, 3 times on elimination day. So the air conditions had something to do with that, but that's what it took to win the race.
When at the end of the season there, Jim, when you look, what was your takeaway from that VMP race? This is one of those races that typically, there's almost always some sort of weather situation or something that causes it to drag out. I thought that was a really impressive performance just as a whole. I mean, how proud are you to be a champion in the PDRA? Like, knowing what you know about drag racing, being around this for as long as you have, you've raced in every sanction and series, you own a drag strip. I mean, how special is it to win a championship in the PDRA?
To see them pull off an event of that size, even they had rain Saturday afternoon late, and finished early on Sunday, I was pretty impressed. I mean, that's one thing we pride ourselves on at Cecil County Dragway, is big car counts and finishing races on time and stuff like that. So I'm very proud to, the competition we have is, like you said, a bunch of 60s. First round, second round. I think that's going to be the show for 2022, I'm sure.
So what do you make of it whenever I say that we should combine those classes? Do you want to throttle me, or do you think that do you see something there? I mean, obviously we saw the boosted cars were very fast this weekend. The conditions were there for them to be fast, and there was clearly a margin. But I'm just curious, like, do you want to choke the life out of me when I say that we should combine Pro Nitrous and Pro Boost, or what's your take?
I think for the specialty races like the Shakedown, the Snowbirds, Yellow Bullet National, stuff like that, I think it's awesome.
Right.
It adds excitement, but I think on a series that starts in the spring and goes through the summer and ends in the fall, there's going to be times where boost cars have advantage. There's going to be time where the nitrous cars has advantage. So
I actually heard the wildest thing this last week, and I had never thought about it, but this was a promoter said this to me. He goes, it's seasonal rules. You have to have the rules change with the season or change with the venue. And I thought, holy shit, like, this is complicated enough.
I wouldn't want that.
But you know what I mean? Like, this is complicated. However, I did kind of find it as a unique thing, because that's what we see in the NHRA Pro Mod world, right? I mean, the cars go somewhere where it's favorable for that combination, the turbo cars in Bristol or the turbo cars in Vegas or what have you, the turbo cars in Denver got a clear advantage. Then you go somewhere else. I don't know. It seemed like John Sears is probably breaking out in a sweat right now, over the suggestion of something like that. But to your point, it's so hard to create parity when it's a moving target. Conditions, location, time of year, it's difficult.
It could change look at this past weekend. Yeah. Friday, Saturday was warm. Sunday was cold. I mean, the density altitude dropped thousands of feet. So, I mean, you can't make a rule change between qualifying and elimination. So that'd be kind of tough.
It would be tough. I mean, but it is an interesting perspective. I have a kind of look from the perspective of a track owner, Jim. This past weekend, we've talked about this a lot. We had No Mercy 12, huge radial tire race going on down in Valdosta, Georgia. We had the PDRA putting on a big show in Virginia. No Prep Kings packing the place in Dallas, Texas. And we also had the NHRA with a huge crowd on Saturday as the NHRA returned to Bristol Dragway. How good do you feel about our sport right now? I mean, is that a proud moment for you?
Yeah, based on what we see at the PDR races and what we see at our place, it's been a very good year, spectator wise, racer wise as well. I think it's a trending upward, and hopefully it continues to do that.
What's your take on no prep racing and this type of stuff? Have you guys gotten into doing any of the Cecil County is known for being one of like the best prep tracks in the country. So it's kind of probably an awkward thing for you to even discuss. But I mean, has that type of racing kind of tickled your fancy at all? Not from a racing perspective, but just from an organizer and a promoter perspective?
We've had some requests for it, but it's so difficult to unprep a racetrack after we've done what we've done for the last 20 years. So would I do it? I probably would try it, but the opportunity hasn't really presented itself yet.
I was just curious because it's I truly do believe that a high tide lifts all boats. And when I see the pits and the grandstands at all these different races, different parts of the country, different types of racing, it just seems like our sport is in a really good place, right? I mean, for all the hubbub about electric cars or whatever's going on with the government at any given time, going green initiatives, drag racing seems to be enjoying a little bit of a resurgence, a significant resurgence, in my opinion.
I agree with that 100%. I mean, we've seen that. Maybe it has something to do with the COVID deal last year, but I mean, our attendance is quite a bit higher this year than it was last year.
Well, it's good to hear, man. Well, Jim, thank you so much for taking the time to be on here. I just wanted to make sure that we had a chance to bring you on here, celebrate. Again, I truly think that you guys have the most dominant hot rod indoor slammer drag racing, and it doesn't look like it's going to slow down anytime soon. Can we expect you to come out, I guess, and defend your title in 22?
That's the plan.
That's the plan? All right. Well, hey, send a well wish to everybody. Say hi to Eric, Kathy, and everybody, and I hope to see you at the Snowbirds.
We'll be there.
All right, brother.
Thanks,
Thank you
Jim.
very much.
Thanks, guys.
All right, Mike, Murder Tundra, my squad. I tell you what, I think it is time to cue the music.